say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you. Shall I stay? Would it be a sin if I can't help falling in love with you? Like a river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. Take my hand, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you. Like a river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. Take my hand, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you, for I can't help falling in love with you.
Hey. Good morning. Welcome to you, grace to you, peace to you. I call your attention to announcements. Take a look there in the nuggets and all the different things that are going on. And if you have any questions, feel free to call the office and get a hold of us, and we'll be happy to clarify any questions that you have, because we understand everything perfectly clear. Oh, that wasn't supposed to be a joke. All right, so we all know each other very well, and that's good. I just want to lift up a couple of things. One is that this evening at 5 o'clock in the other building at Smith Hall, everyone is invited to be a part of a potluck. It is with the Berkeley students, students from Berkeley University who have decided that they want an alternative spring break experience, have come here to Arizona in order to learn more about the issue of immigration, and we are fortunate enough to be able to provide housing for them as they explore this issue in different parts of the valley. So if you want to be a part of that and part of that conversation, bring some kind of potluck dish, throw it on the table, and we'll all have a good time. So we hope that you can join us for that. And then also, hold on, it was right on the, Shadow Rock at North Mountain is, of course, coming up. It's the first Sunday of the month, but I wanted to give you plenty of notice about that. We're going to be talking about the afterlife. We're going to be talking about, is there a soul, and what is a soul? And we're going to be doing those kinds of questions. So that's the first Sunday in April, and we hope that you can be a part of us, part of that gathering. We start at 4:30, and again, that's the topic. We'll be announcing it again next week. But because there's so many Sundays, and it falls on the last Sunday, and then it doesn't fall on the last Sunday, because the 31st may feel like the first Sunday of April. It's not. Is that clear? The more I talk, the more confusing it gets, isn't it? Okay. What else is new? So, North Mountain Brewery, the first Sunday in April. And then, if you would love to have a kosher hot dog, the temple is providing a kosher hot dog. The youth group for the Jewish congregation is having a fundraiser. So you'll see they'll have their tent set up, and you can go and get a hot dog. Okay? Bring that with you to Coffee Chat. All right. Again, please keep the work of our congregation lifted up in prayer. Many things are going on all the time. Many things are going on in your lives. And I hope that during a time of celebrations, you'll be able to stand and share what's going on in your life. But for now and for this moment, welcome. Take a deep breath. Step away from the busyness of life and even the busyness and clatter and clutter of your soul. Take a deep breath. Know that you're loved, and that no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. June, please call us to worship.
Please stand and remain standing through the song. We gather this morning acknowledging that all of life can be a lesson to us if we allow it. We acknowledge that our community feels a special call to interact with meaning and intention with art and culture. We gather this morning acknowledging that our covenant asks us to balance work and word, worship and study. Journey of the Spirit is a time to refine and refresh the balance. Our gathering will lead us to new questions about our engagement with culture. We might ask, will the real Jesus please stand up? May this time together in worship and study open our eyes to the meanings and theologies of the cultures all around us. May our journey of the Spirit enliven us all and bring us grace.
Good morning. On August 24th, when you open your door and you realize that the road to Hades does indeed pass through Phoenix, please remember this morning it was beautiful. She comes sailing in the wind, her wings flashing in the sun. On a journey just begun, she flies on. And in the passage of her flight, her song rings out through the night. Full of laughter, full of light, she flies on. Humble girl in Galilee, a gentle breeze she came, like a whisper softly calling in the dark. The promise of a child, peace whose reign would never end. Mary sang the Spirit song within her heart. She comes sailing on the wind, her wings flashing in the sun. On a journey just begun, she flies on. And in the passage of her flight, her song rings throughout the night. Full of laughter, full of light, she flies on. Flying to the river, a radiant circling high, high above the child now grown so full of grace. As he rose up from the water, she swept down from the sky, and she carried him away into her embrace. flashing in the sun. On a journey just begun, she flies on. And in the passage of her flight, her song rings throughout the night. Full of laughter, full of life, she flies on. Long after the deep darkness that fell upon the world, after dawn returned in place of rising sun, the Spirit touched the earth again, when her wings unfurled, bringing life in wind and fire as she flew on. She comes sailing on the wind, her wings flashing in the sun. On a journey just begun, she flies on. And in the passage of her flight, her song rings throughout the night. Full of laughter, full of light, she flies on. Please be seated.
Please join me in a minute of prayer. Creator God, we are grateful for this life and the gifts that you have given us. We make decisions every day on how to use those gifts. Some are clear to us and some are not. When we don't know what to do or what decision to make, we turn to you. When the time is right, we are sure you will enlighten us by bringing us information, opportunities, and thoughtful conversations. Help us to see the needs around us and give us courage to respond to those needs. Give us strength, wisdom, and direction in all that we do. Amen.
This is a new melody. It is sung responsibly, so good luck. Okay. Our Creator, in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Your will be done. On earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses. As we forgive those who trespass against us. Save us from the time of trial. And deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Forever. Amen.
The word about life comes from Matthew chapter 5 and also from Luke chapter 8. Matthew chapter 5, part of the Sermon on the Mount. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. so that you may be children of your heavenly parent. For God makes the sun rise on the evil and on the good. For God sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. For if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? What's the big deal? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet only your brothers and sisters, what more are you doing than others? Do not even the Gentiles do the same? You want to count yourself as somehow special, somehow chosen, somehow more than? Well, then love the way that God loves. Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. And then reading from Luke chapter 8, and it is the source, the word about life for today's message. Then Jesus' mother and Jesus' brothers came to him, but they could not reach him because of the crowd. And so they passed the word on, and he was told, "Your mother and your brothers are standing outside waiting to see you." But he said to them, "My mother, my brothers, my sisters are those who hear the word about life and do it." Let us pray. Oh God, what would you have us say? What would you have us do? What would you have us hear? We want to honor all journeys, each unique, each a blessing, each one rich. And yet we also want to honor what is universally shared among us. Our need to be loved and to love. Our need for respect and to be respected. Our need to serve and to be served. May your Spirit move among us. For those of us who need to be knocked upside the head, well, then knock us upside the head. But for most, the right word at the right time in the right way so that they are comforted and strengthened. And again, know that they are loved. Bless what is said and done. Amen. Peg and I were married when we were 20 years old, and we knew that we would be in ministry together, and we knew that we would probably live away from our families. And we were correct in those assumptions, but we had no clue what it meant. When you're 20, you think you know everything, but we were naive. But God, we were cute. At least she was. Some of my studies during seminary, because I served a church at the same time that I was going to school, that's the excuse I use for taking so long. That some of the studies that caught my imagination was the convergence of the ideas that people who shared faith were family to each other. That we're brothers and we're sisters because we share the same heavenly parent. We were not family by blood, but family by the water of baptism. And through the waters of baptism, we were born into a new family. You shall be born again. Through the waters of baptism, we have this ritual, whether you're an infant or whether you're the age of accountability and free church traditions. The whole idea is that there is something about a claim, that the mystery that God has on you. You acknowledge that claim, or your family acknowledges the claim on your behalf, and that you belong to a larger family than the family you have by blood. Another direction of study was family systems theory. And it hit me hard between the eyes that the most mature family members are the ones who differentiate from their families of origin. And you can usually tell who those people are when you go to a family reunion, because they are usually the people that everybody else talks about as being the odd one or the black sheep of the family, or they moved away and they just never quite fit in or whatever. There's lots of different ways that we talk about them. And that the key to remain connected to the members of your family and not to emotionally cut off from them, like going away to college or just moving out of town, a geographic change, but rather you are close or distant geographically. The idea is to remain connected, emotionally connected in a way that at the same time you're able to stay connected and detached from the unhealthy demands of the family. You're able to remain connected but detached from the unhealthy demands that maintains an equilibrium in your family and keeps the most immature people in your family safe. When families have secrets, it's often because the secrets serve the most unhealthy and dysfunctional people in your family. There are many of us who grew up being responsible for the emotional well-being of our parents. And somewhere along the line, we had to differentiate from that in order to claim ourselves, our true selves, and to claim our true best destiny. Okay? That's differentiation. I'll give you an example of how it goes even beyond family. I know it's difficult to believe, but not everybody likes me. I know. It's a shock. And when I came to understand who struggles with me, I have a couple of options. I can decide that because they do not like me, that I won't like them, and I won't talk with them. My other option, though, is to decide that I'm not going to take their dislike of me personally and be intentional about staying connected to them. And often the best way for me to stay connected to people that don't like me is to be playful with them. Now, I'm not playful with them at their expense. That's not what I'm talking about. But to be playful with them. And so my decision to stay connected, even though they may not like me, and not to be controlled emotionally by their attitude toward me, is me differentiating. We get it? Right? We know this stuff. We get it. Now, we may know it. It's harder to live it. But we know this. And I like this story in Luke because I see it as Jesus differentiating from his family of origin. And this is even more clear in Mark's version Because in Mark's version of the story, Jesus' family is looking to detain him because they think he's crazy, that he has a mental illness. It says in Mark, then Jesus went home and the crowd came together again so that there was such a gathering, so many people around that the family couldn't even sit down and eat together. And when his family heard it, they went out to restrain him, for people were saying he has gone out of his mind. How many of you remember that from Mark? Is that the first time you've heard that? Is it new? It's new for many of you. But it's there. Well, it's in the Scripture. The term self-differentiation was first introduced by Murray Bowen, whose ideas are the basis of family systems theory, and there are two aspects of self-differentiation: intrapsychic differentiation, interpersonal differentiation. And intrapsychic differentiation is when we can tell apart our thoughts from our emotions. That's a tough one, but important. In other words, it's self-awareness. The other kind of differentiation, interpersonal differentiation, is when we can distinguish our experience from the experience of people we are connected to. One of the most visited things in Peg and I's relationship is we have to remind each other that she is she and me is me, and that I'm not responsible for her happiness and neither is she responsible for mine. And we have to remind ourselves of that. And our relationship is better for it. Both aspects of self-differentiation are important as they empower us to be aware of our current state and the influence of different interactions and environments on our state of well-being, and empowers us to take action. Well, the first church that I served was in a small village in western Kentucky. And I was 23 years old at my first church, and Peg and I, we moved into the parsonage with our 18-month-old Joshua. I worked hard, and it's very important to me to do a good job. And in my strange mix of humility and arrogance, I took a survey of my job performance. Out of 60 members of this small church, there were 4 negative surveys. And they were all done on the same typewriter. And you could tell it was done on the same typewriter because the letter E was either really light or missing on all 4 surveys. And one comment was, in this small church in western Kentucky, is that Ken would be a great pastor further north. And further north was underlined 3 times. Yankee, go home, right? Again, in my strange mix of arrogance and humility, it was important for me to be right. And I moved among the people there to care for them, to serve them. And yet, you know, I had theological studies under my belt. And it was important to be right. One really gentle, wise woman, she told me, and I'll never forget, she said, Ken, people live where they feel. I heard her say the words, but I did not really hear her meaning. And I've been on a lifelong journey to listen better ever since. I was accused of doing things I did not do, such as I was skipping school. I was getting drunk in the next town over. I was abusing our son. I was having confidential conversations with the president of the congregation, but he did not remember, either because of dementia or for strategic reasons. I don't know. Peg and I, we felt we were in trouble, but we were naive. And we believed that everything would come out right. After all, we're all Christians here, and we're all family, right? During Holy Week, the elders of the church had a secret meeting, and it was decided that after Easter, the church board would vote to have me leave. And I remember one woman, the postmaster of our little town, standing up to vote for my termination with tears running down her face. And she said with a broken heart, "I'm sorry, Ken. This is not against you, but it is for the unity of our family." I had 90 days to find a new place for Peg, our new baby, that would arrive within the next 12 to 14 weeks. Now, please understand me. There is no judgment about the decision that most of those people made. I could see the lack of differentiation among themselves. Grown men and women who had children of their own, owned their own homes, had good jobs in the coal mines, would have to ask their own aged parents first about what was right and what was wrong, or what the church should do next. Peg and I thought that our new family would do the right thing and stand by us. We thought that the water of baptism was thicker than the blood of mothers and fathers, aunts and uncles and cousins. And we were wrong. Why we were wrong, and we have never allowed ourselves to be naive in this way again, I think the question still stands. Who is our family? Which family makes a greater or less claim on us? Is it a family by choice? Our family by blood? We are a family by choice. As a family by choice, is our obligation to each other greater, or is it less? As a family born of water, the water of baptism, a family born out of the love and the service and the death and the promise and the vision of Jesus. As a family born of that, not blood, are we just a family of convenience? Now, I know I'm walking on shaky ground here. I'm sounding like a cult leader trying to separate you from your blood family. I'm not intending this at all. However, the question remains, just as it did with Jesus. Who is my mother? Who are my brothers and sisters? And he says it's those who hear the word about life and do it. There's a challenge there. I hear the challenge. But it's also an invitation. Jesus seems to invite us to enlarge our family to include those who share our values. Jesus invites us to enlarge our family to include those who share a vision. And I have to say that there is family I am stuck with. And then there are friends who feel more like family than some of my own family. That is a reality I cannot deny. But it is Jesus' vision that helps me understand it better. I want to say that yesterday, 75 more people, 75 that I know of, people were dumped on the street by the Immigration and Custom Enforcement. This is their usual practice now. And within 2 hours, another church, Catiso United Church of Christ, a sister congregation down the street, they opened up their building. A group of students and teachers from Brophy High School, a group of people from Jews for Justice, a group of people from 100 Angels, all these different groups and volunteers from the community came together, and we were all in this one room sharing a meal together, along with 75 men, women, and children from Central America. And we started to pray in the usual kind of white, middle-class American way. And the Guatemalan families began to hug each other. Some of them fell on their knees, and nearly all of them cried their eyes out in gratitude for the gift of life and for the gift of that moment. If my mother and my brothers, as much as I loved them, had showed up in that moment and had knocked on the door and had said, "Hey, tell Ken to come out here and join us," I have to say, in my heart, I would have said, who is my mother and who are my brothers and sisters? I see this right here. Now, that doesn't mean I leave my mother and brothers outside. But instead of me leaving them, I would invite them in. And that is the challenge for us. So, I thank you all. Peace to you. This is the time, wait a minute, hold it. Yeah, this is the time when we lift up the celebrations of our lives. It can be a birthday, an anniversary, perhaps surprised by grace. I invite you to stand and let an usher come to you with a microphone. And I want to start with Steve, right here, with Steve and Linda. Right in there.
I'd like to thank the band and Brian for that song. That was the part of that song were the words that I asked Linda to marry me. On March 25th, 1962, fools rushed in to the North Woodbury, North Congregational Church in Woodbury, and we were married. Tomorrow will be our 57th wedding anniversary.
Well, congratulations.
We were able to celebrate again this week because our youngest son brought his 8 family members down to visit with us. And we had a great time. It's amazing when you haven't seen your grandchildren or your great-grandson for a while how much they've grown. And we really had a good time. But I have another announcement that is harder to make. And I apologize to the congregation if this is too much information, but 2 weeks ago at the luncheon, I revealed to the ladies that I had had an abnormal mammogram and that I was going for further testing in the week. I got the results. They're not what I expected or wanted. I am facing surgery, radiation, and possibly chemotherapy. And I just ask for your prayers. I have a difficult decision to make. But on the other hand, I know this sounds like a downer, but I am so grateful that I live at this time in history. There have been so many medical advancements. I'm going to come through this just fine.
And we'll come through it with you. We'll walk with you. Thank you, Linda. Rachel.
Well, I have a lot to follow up on there. Good morning. I just wanted to say that I'm so excited that my father is here visiting me this weekend. His name is Ian. So really nice to have him here with me. He came down for spring training and unfortunately leaves today, but it was a nice little visit.
Wonderful. Welcome. Glad you're here. Right. Cindy.
Hi there. The LaFaves and McQuarters have several celebrations. The first one is my sister Allie is visiting from LA, and she'll join us at Coffee Chat. And then we'd like to celebrate at Coffee Chat with all of you our daughter Carrie's birthday, which is Tuesday, and then Jean's birthday, which is next Tuesday. He'll be out of town on Sunday. And we're very excited. Jean is actually now eligible, or will be, for Medicare.
All right. Very good. Very good. Betty.
Yes, something very wonderful happened to me just about an hour ago. For background, last week in adult education, we talked about Jesus and what it meant to you when you were a child. When I was a child, I was at a Lutheran church every Sunday, and there was a great big stained glass window behind the altar, and it was "Suffer the little children to come unto me," with Jesus and children in this big stained glass window. And I talked about that. Well, Judy Adams wrote a letter to the minister of that church, small town, easy to find that church, and asked him to please take a picture of the window and send it back to her. Well, she did that. She gave that picture to me this morning, and it just touched my heart that she would do that, and I could have something that I remember as a 6-year-old and loved so much. And I thank Judy for doing that.
Amen. Great celebration. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Carla.
Hi, Carla and Alina Rutherford. We're here celebrating that my little grandson, who had open heart surgery at 3 weeks old, is doing well. He did very well with the surgery, but after about a week at home, he did develop an infection and had to be readmitted. And they're currently at the hospital now, but he is responding, and hope for a good recovery, and hopefully he can get back home again this week and continue growing. And he's just a sweet little angel who's been through so much already in his 5 weeks of life. But I so appreciate all the thank you cards and talk about family, friends who are family. My dear friend Liz, who contacted me every single day that I was gone, and they're helping with my 2 little granddaughters while they were at the hospital. And Ken, who said many, many wonderful prayers, and all of you who thought of us. I really appreciate it. And you're right, Linda. Medical miracles happen, and there's a lot of things to be thankful for and grateful for in the care that we receive now. Also wanted to celebrate my beautiful daughter, who will be 20 next week on April Fool's Day. So I think it's a joke, but it's not.
Yeah.
And she won't probably be here for that, but on April Fool's Day, Elena will be 20, and I'm so grateful for my family.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Chris.
My name's Chris Robbins. My wife is Susan Sawyer. We actually have real celebrations because our granddaughter turned 2 years old on March 12th. And her mother, who was expecting, went into the hospital last Saturday And Susan was good enough to go in there at 1 o'clock last Saturday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And baby grandson was born on St. Patrick's Day at 5 in the morning. So now our biracial son and his Latina girlfriend gave us a good Irish grandson.
That's good.
And I really want to celebrate Susan because she literally and figuratively held hands for all of that time. She was the only one there with my son and his girlfriend. And so I'm celebrating her too.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. So have you all seen the commercial about Irish blend whiskey? I guess I'm the only one. So you have an Irish blend, is what we're saying. And that was the point of the commercial. If you get a chance to see it, it's good. All right. Sherry.
Most of you, well, maybe I should say a lot of you, will remember Ismael Delgado, who was a sanctuary guest here for how long? Close to a year.
Yeah, over a year.
I was lucky and got to Facebook with him the other day, and I'll try to give you the Reader's Digest version, because he went on and on and on. Please tell my Shadow Rock family I miss them, I love them, I'm grateful for all they did for me. Please tell them that I'm doing very well. I've started my own business, which I didn't understand whether it's a food cart or a food stand. He started with tacos, but now he's doing some English food, American food, since he was a chef or a cook here. But he really wanted me to share this with all of you, so.
Wonderful.
And P.S., Dominic, many of you remember, turned 25.
Thank you. Okay. DC.
Normally I wouldn't make this on my own here, but my wife isn't obviously here, Monet isn't here. On the 21st, Thursday, we probably had our most tumultuous anniversary. It was bad enough that my wife, we got married at 29, and we've been now married for 29 years. That's her scared her. But she got a call from the health care centers, and she had to end up running over to her mom again ahead of time. Later on in the day, she got a call from her dad, and her cousin died also. Okay. So, and then she got a call from her mom, and her mom said she was doing better. So it's very difficult. We're probably all going to be gone next weekend over seeing her mom in San Diego. Okay. But it's a little bit tumultuous, but I figured we wouldn't have a chance to say our anniversary otherwise.
Yeah. And it gives us a chance to walk with you in this time. So thank you for sharing. Okay. All right. Gordon, late night Gordon. That's what I'm going to call you.
Yeah, that's a little intro to what I was going to say, and I was going to say it's a postscript to Ken's sermon. I saw a message last night from Ken, maybe about 9:15 or so, that he was looking for a driver to take some people to the airport for a 1 a.m. pickup and a 3 a.m. departure. And he was hoping someone would jump up for that ungodly hour, and I'm thinking, oh, that's appropriate for me then. I went ahead and went to bed, slept for an hour and a half, got up at midnight, got ready, and went down to Gatizel, met the folks, took them down to the depot, got their tickets, and four gentlemen, and then there were two others that another man had brought, and he ended up leaving, and so I helped all of them get their tickets. I got them all settled, and went to shake all their hands to say goodbye, and 4 of the 6 wanted to hug me. And just this past hour, it's hitting me more, just given his Ken's sermon, is that yeah, they're family, even though I will probably never see those men again. So it was special. So thank you, Ken, for the chance.
Thank you for serving. Thank you. Okay. All right, friends. Marilyn.
A very special person is turning 80. Sharon Thurman was a preschool teacher here and a custodian for Shadow Rock for over 40 years. And she turns 80 this next week. And I would just love if her mailbox would be full of thinking of you cards. So you still have a little bit of time. Wish Sharon happy birthday.
I thought you were going to say Greg. I thought when you said 80. Okay. Jim.
Yeah, I'm Jim Gear, and we witnessed, I think, a first. May have happened somewhere else around the country, but last night we had the privilege of going to a crossover ceremony for what was the Boy Scouts of America. Now Scouting America, I believe, is what they're going by. But our two granddaughters crossed over and became scouts in what was the Boy Scouts. And it was really a pretty neat thing to see that happening. And for the one, it wasn't as big a thing because she's been in Boy Scouts with her brother and done every outing that he does. So, but for the other one, it was quite a step forward. So Beezer Gear and Rory Meadows are both now in scouting in what was Boy Scouts of America.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, welcome home.
I am back in town. I have a couple of celebrations, but my uncle got married yesterday, so I have... Which uncle? My Uncle Mark, who used to attend years back. He just got married yesterday, so I've been crazy busy as part of the bachelorette party and the bridal party and all the things. But I will always promise that if I'm in town, I will be here. So that's the first celebration. Second celebration, on the 21st, my grandfather Fletch Weidman turned 83.
Wow, okay.
They're doing all right. They're in Denver right now, and they're trucking along. I will be visiting them in a couple of months, and we'll see another update then. And as for me, I finished my master's degree this past December in international and comparative policy studies and politics. I will be pursuing a PhD, but my brain is dead, so I need a good break and to pay off student loans. What else is there? I'm just up in Portland living life, so if you guys are ever up in that area, please contact me. I love visitors, and I will take you to all the food carts.
Wonderful. Brittany.
Oh, sorry, and yes, Brittany Weidman.
Yes. Thank you, Brittany. All right. Hey.
Are you up for next?
Okay, Michael.
Good morning, everyone. This is a wonderful time of celebration where we can all be together no matter what's going on in our lives. Good times, bad times, happy, sad. It's apparent to me that we never walk this journey alone, because family is a mixture of different people, of different backgrounds, and of different walks of life. There are two dates that have been particularly historic for me. The first one is February 13th, 2014. That is when the Southwest Conference United Church of Christ and I began my discernment process for authorized ministry. Fast track to February 13th, 2019, over 1,500, 1,600 days later. After a very difficult January of the Committee on Church and Ministry denying me, at first, denying me the chance to become an authorized lay minister. Before I officially say this, I want to thank Ken, especially for all of his supports. I mean, he's been one of the people who has been cheered me on, not only cheered me on, but has been one of my biggest advocates and support. My mother, who is not only my mother, but it's interesting that she is now the president of the board, and this is not just my history, but history of Shadow Rock. And I want to thank all of you. So it is with great pleasure and pride that I have officially accepted the call to serve as the Southwest Conference United Church of Christ lay minister of disability, education, advocacy, and awareness. Hard work pays off.
All right. Much to celebrate, so let's sing our celebration song. Congratulations, Michael.
I have a very short little talk for you. How many of you know that we have a Shadow Rock Foundation? Okay, that's a lot. Well, if you didn't, and if you want to know more, you have a brochure that you can go home and read. It was set up as a vehicle for supporting planned giving, a way to leave your legacy when you're gone. So I wanted to do a skit or say something funny, or I couldn't think of anything. I think money's kind of a serious topic. So if you have a good money joke, you can, send it to me and I'll use it another time. But I was reading an article, and this is slightly amusing. It was a headline that said, leave more behind than an empty pew. So I kind of like that. So when you look through the brochure, bring any questions that you have during coffee chat to Libby Banks. Libby, would you stand? Libby is an expert in such matters, and she'll answer your questions. And I have two other people on our little small team that's the programming committee for the foundation, and that's Leslie Myers. You want to stand? Wave. And the other person is Tammy Austin, who's not here this morning. She's out of town. So watch in the upcoming Rock the Week. There'll be some links to some articles, some brochures that give you more information about planning what you're going to leave behind. All of us want to leave a legacy. And we have the things like our grown children that we're really proud of, and our grandchildren that are, the best at everything in the world. And so that's part of it. But monetarily, there are some ways that you can do giving that will not only enhance Shadow Rock in the future, but even could be helpful to you and to your progeny. So it's time now that we're going to receive our morning offering. Now that's the same currency, but different timing. So were you planning to lead this, June? Me? Okay. We pause in gratitude to give of ourselves. May all givers and all gifts be used to further the ways of peace and justice.
Today we have another of our Swahili anthems. We promise that we're not doing Swahili for the rest of the year, but two of them went with what we were doing this month. And Suluhisha means make peace, and Suluhiana means make peace with each other.
Suluhisha, Suluhiana, Suluhisha, Suluhiana, Suluhisha, Suluhiana. Be the one to reach out my hand. I will look to all that I can. I will speak the truth so all understand. Though some wonder who we might be, we journey on faithfully. We are the children of peace, seeking the pathways of love and harmony. When one by one we stand up and believe, we can be children of peace. Suluhisha, Suluhiana, Suluhisha, Suluhiana, Suluhisha. And when we see your words sound strange, but when we walk outside, we both feel the rain. And when there's hope in our hearts, the world can't stop what we start. We are the children of peace, seeking the pathways of love and harmony. When one by one we stand up and believe, we can be children of peace. One word, one chance will make a difference if we just do our part. And when there's hope in our hearts, the world can't stop what we start. We are the children of peace, seeking the pathways of love and harmony. When one by one we stand up and believe, we can be children of, 'cause we believe in love. We are the children of. I will be the one to reach out my hand.
Couple of observations. One, it looks very right for Brittany and Travis to be up there, doesn't it? Look
Yes.
right? Okay. And thank you. Okay. So there's that. Then the other thing is that those of you who have helped this weekend or will be helping today with the asylum families, would you please stand? I would like for you to stand. Tim, that includes you, Liz, Michael, Gordon. Yes, thank you. I want to say thank you to you. And I want to say that one of the things that was observed, someone said to me, no, you're going to be standing up in a minute anyway, okay, is that how impressive Shadow Rock people were, how impressive they were to be there in their caring, in their expertise, in their competency, and their loyalty to this cause. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for that. Now, the rest of you, everybody stand, because all of you are great. Join me in the call, not the call, work's done. Words for mission. We're not starting over. Okay, we're ready. Okay. This week, may we strive to set aside childish ways while living into childlike awe and wonder. This week, may we walk in ways that bring hope to ourselves and to others.
This week, let us go forward together in determined hope, giving of ourselves for the good of all.
These are the times.
We are the people.
All of creation is blessed.
May we love all and serve all.
May God be with you.
And also with you.
Amen.